Found my fiance's secret second phone in a year of lies. I was standing at the kitchen sink rinsing quinoa when the timer on the oven beeped, and the smell of roasted sweet potatoes hit me like a warm hug. It was one of those ordinary Wednesday evenings where the most dramatic thing was whether I had enough feta to crumble over the salad. The dog was snoring by the sliding door, tail flicking in his sleep. The radio hummed that low, staticky pop station he likes because everything sounds happy, even the sad songs. I wiped my hands on a dish towel that had a tiny bleach stain, because laundry day, then pulled out the baking sheet. Caramelized edges. I smiled. Small domestic victory. He was late. Again. Client emergency, he'd texted, a phrase that had begun to feel as common as hey and love you. I poured myself a glass of wine to stop checking my phone every 5 minutes and prepare for the part where he walked in apologizing, touching my shoulder, setting his briefcase down in that spot that still dents the rug. The wedding binder sat open on the counter beside me, tabs sticking out like hopeful little tongues. Venue, catering, music, vows. I've been collecting ideas for table settings, amber glass bottles, eucalyptus runners, handwritten place cards. My handwriting is nice. He always said it looked like a teacher's. The ring caught the light as I reached for plates. It's pretty, not huge. One of those simple oval stones set in rose gold. It felt right the day he slid it onto my hand, under the oak tree in my grandmother's backyard. His cheeks flushed and eyes glassy because he almost cried, but didn't, because he didn't want to be that guy. He was, a practical person. Steady. He brings extra water bottles to hikes, checks the weather before we leave the house. He reminds me to stop the dryer lint from building up. He knows numbers like other people know lyrics. The dog stirred, sneezed, and looked at me like he does when he needs to go out. I left the oven door open to let heat breathe into the room and slid the patio door open. Cold air shouldered in with the dog. Beyond our fence, a neighbor's wind chimes fussed in the dark. My phone buzzed. 15 minutes, sorry, traffic is hell. I sent back a thumbs up and a heart and told myself to be a big person and stop building whole narratives from someone being late. People are late. Traffic happens. I stacked forks and knives, aligning them like soldiers, little rituals to make waiting feel like action. That was the opening of my normal night, the calm before the clanging. We were 6 months out from the wedding. Deposits were paid. My mom kept texting me pictures of centerpieces, and his mom kept texting him about rehearsal dinner venues that feel intimate but not cheap. He and I had been together 5 years. We have a dog, a shared savings account titled Future, a Spotify playlist called Us Clean because we once accidentally queued up a French rap song at his dad's retirement barbecue and his aunt looked like she was going to faint. But small things had been flickering at the edge of my vision for months. Not big cinematic red flags, no lipstick on collars, no unfamiliar perfume, just flickers. On Saturdays, he started going to the gym earlier and staying longer. He'd come back showered, energized, and oddly quiet. His phone was face down more often than face up. He changed his passcode after my sister saw a Christmas gift idea and spoiled it. But when she came over, she asked me what I wanted for Christmas and looked confused when I said he already had it handled. He started using we when talking about work. We've got this client. We had to stay late. He works mostly independently. I asked who we was once, and he said, oh, random contractors. You don't know them. There was a smell one night on his coat, faintly floral and expensive, in a way I never buy. He said it was the receptionist at the co-working space who soaks in perfume like she's marinating for a date every day. I laughed even though it made my jaw ache. I can pinpoint the moment my brain really clicked into detective mode. We were on the couch watching a docu-series about a famous art heist. He leaned forward, absorbing, the way he does with anything procedural. One of the episodes showed this security guard who didn't log a breach because he feared being blamed, even though he wasn't the one who messed up. And I remember thinking, that's silly. A system shouldn't be built so one person feels punished for telling the truth. The next day, while sorting socks, I found a receipt in his coat pocket for a small coffee shop across town we never go to. 2 oat milk lattes, a croissant, a blueberry muffin. 8:26 a.m. a Tuesday, he told me he was on Zoom until 11. My fingers smoothed the paper flat until it went soft around the edges. I was near tears about a receipt. It felt ridiculous and yet heavy. I didn't say anything. I started watching things instead. The way he angled his body away when texting. The way his eyes flicked to my face after texts came in. Like he was waiting to see if I noticed a thing he hadn't admitted was a thing. The way he was suddenly very protective of his phone, taking it into the bathroom, plugging it in under his side of the bed at night with the screen facing the wall. It wasn't like he'd been cavalier before. He's a private person, not a show your texts person. But there was a new posture. When I tried to tell myself I was paranoid, I remembered the oat milk. One night I suggested going to that coffee shop. We could try somewhere new, I chirped, trying to sound breezy, like a woman who has never in her life hovered outside a bathroom door, listening to the cadence of her fiancé's whisper. He blinked. Babe, it's all the way across town. We have good cafes here. I know, but we'll go some weekend, okay? I'm slammed this week. Kiss on the top of my head. That used to make me feel cherished. Lately, it felt like something a magician does when he wants you to look at his left hand. We'd booked a photographer, we'd picked the song for our first dance. I caught myself practicing in the kitchen sometimes, one hand on my own shoulder, humming and turning. He caught me once and said, "Wow, Mrs. Practice," and my stomach squeezed because he's always calling me that. Mrs. Like trying it on in his mouth. He did it that night with a lilt like he believed it, like it was as inevitable as Tuesday turning into Wednesday. Then came the second phone. He'd gone to his friend Aaron's for poker. Aaron's poker nights are real, to be clear. And I've been the only woman in that apartment full of men trying to pretend they understand odds like the characters on TV. My fiancé doesn't even like poker. He finds the bluffing distasteful. But he likes the guys. He left with a six-pack and a pack of fancy artisanal chips because, apparently, that's his love language. I took a bath, shaved my legs even though I'd been in sweatpants all day, and lit a candle that smells like fig and clean laundry. I read exactly one page of my book and then scrolled because my brain was too buzzy. The dog curled on the bath mat and sighed like an old man. Around midnight, he texted, "Running late, don't wait up," which felt fine. Except when he came home at 2 a.m., he was weirdly sober for 5 hours with guys and beer. His hair smelled like the city at night. Exhaust, a hint of someone's cigarette on a breeze. He showered quickly and slid into bed. I was mostly awake, pretending not to be. At 3:14 a.m., my bladder forced me up. In the bathroom, I washed my hands longer than necessary, listening. Soft snores. Light, rhythmic. I tiptoed to the kitchen for water and noticed, absentmindedly, like noticing that you left a cabinet door open, a flash of something metallic tucked behind the cookbooks on the top shelf of the bookcase by the dining table. We keep extras, batteries, a flashlight in that cabinet. I thought it was a battery pack. I dragged a chair quietly across the rug, climbed up, and reached behind the cookbooks. My fingers found smooth plastic. It was a phone. Small. Black case. No stickers. It hummed in my hand like a tiny animal trying to make itself invisible. My heart went thud, thud, thud against my ribs hard enough to shake my breath. It didn't look like a work phone. It didn't look like anything but what it was. A secret. I froze. The dog lifted his head from his bed and watched me with those deeply serious eyes that always make me feel like I owe him an explanation. I backed into the kitchen, the phone burning a hole in my hand. My mind raced with practical thoughts like, do I put it back? Do I destroy it? Is there any version of this that doesn't make me feel like the floor is gone? There was no password. He's smart enough to keep a second phone, but not smart enough to lock it. This thought made me feel equal parts insulted and blessed by stupidity. I slid my thumb up. New message. I miss you already. Same time Friday. I want to see you in that dress. The texting app showed a list of names like wounds. Some first names without last names. One with a heart. One labeled Jim. One with just a lemon emoji. I clicked the one at the top. M. The thread was a year long. Pictures of cappuccinos at that coffee shop. Sunlit corners of some apartment I'd never seen. Selfies of him with his head in her lap, eyes closed. Messages. Running to the store. Need anything? And I left my sweater at yours. Keep it. It smells like you. Late night, are you up? Texts. A video of them on a carousel in a park, laughing, the camera swinging wildly to catch his face as she kissed his cheek. My stomach lurched so violently I had to sit on the floor. The tile was cold. The dog came over and pressed his head into my side, and I said, out loud, to this creature who knows nothing of oat milk or vows, I think everything is ending. There was one thread called Aaron Poker. I clicked it and saw coordinating texts with a person named A that read like alibi, rehearsal, tell her you saw me tonight. Yep, you owe me tacos. Always do. LOL. I felt my face go hot, so the poker nights were half-truths. Maybe they started true and then morphed into cover. Maybe Aaron thought he was helping his friend get some space because I'm a nag, because the feminine stereotype of needy fiancé is so handy. I wanted to hurl the phone across the room in a perfect arc into the sink. I didn't. I scrolled further. November. Happy birthday, handsome. You make me feel safe. September. I'm sick. Can you bring soup? A year ago, May. No, I'm engaged. It doesn't change that I didn't plan for this. My vision went blurry. I closed my eyes and saw our engagement party, the swirl of people, my aunt hugging me and whispering, he's a good one, as if we were naming horses. I saw his father shaking his hand like a colleague and saying, you did good, son. I saw his first dance with his mom, practiced in the kitchen at Thanksgiving when she begged him to show her what he'd do on the night. He had spun her gently, and they had laughed. I wondered which days he left her house and went to the apartment with the nice sunlight. There were nudes, implied mostly, not explicit, shadows, bare shoulders, his stupid clavicle, familiar and suddenly foreign. I could handle the implied easier than words like, I think about you when she's asleep. I could not handle that. I could not handle the half-dozen times he and Em had looked at some future together. They had Googled weekend trips. They had saved a rental listing. The sound that escaped me was embarrassing. A hiccup crossed with a cry. I covered my mouth. I needed to not wake him up until I decided what I wanted my face to look like when he saw it. Righteous fury, cool detachment. Maybe only a woman reads a year of messages and thinks about her face. I took pictures. I took pictures of everything. Insurance. Friends will tell you to document, and you never think it will apply to you because you assume your life will be small and manageable, and your crises will be the kind you can fix with a good cry and a reasonable conversation. I took pictures of the contacts, the confession light, the mentions of Friday at E's place. Who is E? The video of them kissing in a park I recognized as the one near my dentist, the heart by M. My hands shook so badly the photos blurred and I had to reshoot. I put the phone on the counter and walked in a circle around my kitchen, touching the back of chairs, the oven, the cool glass of the framed photo of our last vacation by the lake, the two of us in matching flannel, laughing with the wind making my hair a mess. I thought, maybe this is salvageable. Maybe this is a phase. Maybe I am pathetic for even using the word salvageable. I thought, do I call his mother? No. Do I call mine? God, no. She will drive over in her nightgown. I finished the wine in 3 gulps, then poured water because I didn't want to be the drunk, hysterical one. I slid the phone back where I found it and stood still in the darkness until my heartbeat moved from my throat back to my chest. I didn't sleep. The dog and I sat on the couch like 2 ghosts waiting for dawn. When the light finally crept in like an apology, he woke up, padded into the kitchen where it was safe and bright. He smiled when he saw me. Habit. His hair was sticking up. He scruffed the dog. Morning, Mrs. His bare feet on our kitchen tile. His shoulders familiar under his t-shirt. I could see the tan line on his ring finger where he sometimes takes it off for the gym. He reached for me. I stepped back. I found your other phone, I said. I watched the word other slice through his face. The way his eyes widened and then narrowed. The way for a second he looked almost relieved. The mask dropped. Then he went to calm so quickly I wanted to applaud. He leaned on the counter like we were about to talk about the electric bill. Okay, he said. Slow. Okay. Sit down. No, I said. No, you sit. Or stand, or spin. I don't care. Just say something that isn't okay. I'm sorry. About which thing? My voice was stranger than I expected. Actresses always have cool voices in this scene. Mine was tight, like a balloon a kid refuses to let go of. He walked to the cabinet, reached behind the cookbooks like it was a game. He placed the phone on the counter between us, as if offering me a bird. I was going to, I don't know, end it? I was going to end it. It's stupid. I'm stupid. I know. How long? I asked, as if the exact number of months could make a difference between an earthquake and a landslide. He pressed his fingers to his eyes, and when he let go, his lashes were wet. A year, he said, around a year. A year is not a stumble, I said. A year is a decision that you re-upped every day. I met her before I proposed, he said, voice small. We work in the same space sometimes, and… No, I put my hand up. It trembled. No origin story. I don't want to get attached to the narrative where you somehow tripped and fell for a year. She understands parts of me, he said, and I wanted to laugh. The big, mean laugh of a woman who has washed your underwear and sat by your mom's hospital bed and listened to your stories about middle school bullies like they were war tales. But okay, sure, tell me about parts. Does she know you're engaged? I asked, though I'd read the text. Yes, he said. She thinks we're working through things. We? I repeated. We who? The we that is the two of us, or the we that is the you who has lies for breakfast and her who has affairs for lunch? He flinched. I deserve that, he said. You deserve worse, but I don't think I have it in me to be worse. The dog leaned against my legs so hard he almost knocked me over. I put my hand on his head and felt his warmth. Living things being reliable. Underrated. I never thought I'd be the guy who, he started. You are the guy who, I said. We are not talking about hypotheticals. You are. You did. You are doing. The radio was off, but it felt like the room had a hum. Outside, someone's car alarm chirped on, then off. A plane to somewhere wetter, somewhere with palm trees maybe, buzzed at the edge of hearing. I focused on dumb details so I wouldn't unravel. The mug he used last night had a lipstick smear. Mine. But still, it looked like evidence of a different crime. The ring light glinted on his finger. I wanted it to burn him. I love you, he said, and I knew he thought it mattered. Maybe it does in some universe where love is measured in how long you can hold your breath underwater. I sat down. He mirrored me. We stared at each other like strangers in a waiting room. How many? I asked. I did not know if I was a how many person. It felt important, though, to ask the question I was scared of. He hesitated, and that hesitation told me more than any number could. 1, he said. Too fast. Then softer. 2, if you count a thing that was more… a stupid… I don't know. He pinched the bridge of his nose. He has a tiny scar there from when his brother hit him with a Nerf gun as kids. I used to kiss it absent-mindedly. Do you use condoms? I asked, my stomach rolling over like a dog begging not to be fed this conversation. Yes. Yes, always, he said. I'm not an idiot. His eyes flicked to me like he understood the weight of STIs, of risks, of bodies being jeopardized. I thought of all the times in the last year I'd gotten a weird yeast infection and blamed my new soap. I thought of the one time I had a UTI and he drove me to the urgent care at 2 a.m., held my hand when it hurt to pee. The collision of those memories made my chest ache. Are you breaking up with me? He asked, after a minute of our eyes skittering around the room, landing on objects like they mattered. He asked it genuinely, like he wanted me to make the messy decision clean. The audacity. I don't know, I said, and truth felt both weak and like the only thing I had. I don't know what I'm doing in the next 10 minutes, never mind the rest of my life. I know I can't look at you without seeing that video of you on a carousel like you're in a coming-of-age movie. I know I feel… amputated. He nodded. His mouth trembled. He is not a crier. The few times I've seen him cry have been at funerals and occasionally at movie scenes with old dogs. He looked like a man who's realized his house is on fire and he forgot to pay the insurance. I'll call them, he said. I'll end it. She knows I need to. I've been trying to. I didn't know how to. That's a lie, I said. And I said it gently. because I think it matters to say true things gently sometimes. You know how to end things. You end them by ending them. You didn't want to. That's different. He nodded. He started to reach for the second phone, and I put my hand on it. You'll call her when you're not in my house, I said. He looked at me like I'd slapped him and cleared his throat. He said, okay. He asked if he should go to a friend's. I said yes. Then I said no. Then yes again. He got up. He stood. He didn't know where to put his hands. He picked up his keys. He put them down. The dog watched him with sincere concentration. He leaned down like he was going to say goodbye to the dog and then looked at me as if to ask permission. I said nothing. He touched the dog's head anyway. When the door closed behind him, the silence in the apartment was a physical thing. I sat with it. I cried in big, silent gulps that made my throat hurt. I cried because all the fights we didn't have were inside me now, with nowhere to go but out through my eyes. I cried because the ring was heavy. It began to itch. I slid it off and it left an indent. For a moment, I couldn't breathe. Then I could. I called my best friend. It was too early for ordinary people to be awake, but she answered like she had been waiting to answer a horrible phone call her whole life. Tell me everything, she said. So I did, in chunks, like spitting out poison. She stayed on the line while I said practical things like, I think I might need an STD panel, and less practical things like, do you think eucalyptus is out now? She told me to take deep breaths, to drink water, to not make any major decisions while my body was humming like a power line. She said she was on her way, and I told her not to, because our apartment is small and our grief does not need to bump into each other. She came anyway, with bagels. I texted my boss that I had a family emergency and wouldn't be in. I suppose this is a family emergency. Who is family? Who is emergency? My phone pinged in a way that made my skin jump. It was him. At Aaron's. I'll give you space. I'm so sorry. Please don't make any decisions until we talk to someone. I typed, then deleted, we don't have a we right now 3 times. I didn't reply. I opened the wedding binder and closed it. I stared at the deposit list. I called the venue and asked about refund policies and felt in my bones the way the woman on the other end of the line has had this conversation so many times she has a script for it. She was kind. I cried a little on the phone and apologized for crying. She told me, that's what we're here for. And in a better world, that would be true. Venues for weddings, friends for bagels, strangers for the kindness that gets you to tomorrow. My mom called because she has radar for when I'm not okay. I let it ring out, then texted busy at work, call you later, and hated myself for the lies that have to be told to protect someone from telling their mom that their life just cracked. There will be a day where I tell her and she will say something like that, and then cry into her hands and then make me tea and kiss my face, practical person that she is, as if she can fix a year with a mug and a blanket. At noon, the sun had burned through the clouds and lit up the dust in our living room in a way that made me see the particles for what they are, everything in the air that we call nothing. My friend sat cross-legged on the floor with the dog asleep with his head on her knee. We made lists. Triage, she called it. We wrote 1. STD test. 2. Therapist. 3. Tell someone else you trust. 4. Eat. 5. Water. 6. Don't call his mother. 7. Stop blaming yourself. I smiled at that last one, like it was a joke, and she looked at me with her big, everybody deserves kindness eyes and said, I'm serious. At 2 p.m., my phone lit with an unknown number. I didn't answer. It lit again. Then, a text from the second phone number. Hi, I'm M. This is going to sound insane, but I think we should talk woman to woman. My stomach went cold. I hadn't thought about her reaching out. I had imagined her as an outline in the corner of the room, not a human with fingers and a name and the knowledge of me. I stared at the text like it was a snake. I didn't respond. Ignoring is a decision too. I don't know yet if I want to be the person who chooses to know all the details, or the person who builds a shield of not knowing and backs away. Both options felt impossible. He sent another message after that. I told her. I told her it's over. I'm going to give you space. I'll move my stuff to Aaron's. I'll pay whatever deposits we lose. I'll do anything. And then, 15 minutes later, which told me he'd had time to stew and strategize. I want to fight for us. Fight for us. Fight like what? Like the third act montage in a rom-com where the guy runs through an airport? He always rolls his eyes at those scenes. He thinks real love isn't a performance but a practice. He says things like that. Said. And yet here we are, a performance, compelling and sloppy. I wandered into the bedroom and opened his closet. His shirts hung in a gradient from navy to gray because he is boring in charming ways. I smelled his hoodie and felt like a cliché, like a girl in a YA novel who presses her face into a hoodie and inhales betrayal. I took down the box of his college trophies, debate team, 2 awards for math competitions, because I had been the one who convinced him to keep them out of a sense of history. I started a pile. Then I stopped. It felt too decisive, too daytime TV. My body made a noise, and my friend wandered in and wrapped her arms around me from behind like we were a statue of comfort. We set a time for him to come by, 5 p.m., so we could grab clothes and his laptop and the second phone and be gone for at least a few days. He asked if he could bring his mother to help keep things calm, and I almost choked. No, absolutely not. This is not a family event. At 4:30, I sat on the couch with the dog pressed hard against my thighs. He knows things. I swear he does. I watched the second hand on the clock push and push and push. It's funny how time doesn't care if your heart is breaking. It just keeps doing its job. 5 o'clock came. The door knocked lightly, like it didn't want to wake the house even though the house was wide awake and buzzing. It was him, alone. He looked smaller. He stood in the doorway like a schoolboy waiting to be called in. I let him in. He moved like a person wary of tripping an alarm. He gathered things in a duffel. He kept wanting to speak. I kept shaking my head. "What do you want me to do?" you finally said. Eyes wet again, duffel slung like a cliché. I wanted to say disappear, but what came out was, I don't know. We stared at each other, the kind of stare that makes you aware of every breath, every blink. There was the tiniest part of me that wanted him to drop to his knees in some dramatic gesture, and then I hated that part of me because forgiveness should not be begged like that, it should be built, and I don't know if I even want a foundation. He took the second phone, glanced at it like it might bite him, and slid it into the duffel. "I'll email you the spreadsheet of deposits and dates so we can—" He stopped. Emotion corroded the edge of his voice. "So you can decide." He swallowed. "I'm going to see a therapist. Not to fix us, well, hopefully, but because I need to understand what I did." He looked younger and older in the same moment. I nodded because therapy is never a bad sentence to say out loud. I walked him to the door. He turned like he might lean in and kiss me out of habit. He didn't. After the door clicked and the silence came back and settled on my shoulders like a heavy shawl, I sat on the floor with my back against the door and pressed my forehead to my knees and let out a sound that felt like it had been stored in a jar for months. The dog lay down next to me, pressed his warm weight into my thigh like he was anchoring me to the earth. Now it's evening. The roasted sweet potatoes are cold in the oven, the salad wilted. The ring sits in a tiny ceramic dish my sister made me when she was 7 that says, "Rings," in shaky blue paint. The word looks like a threat. He's at Aaron's, I assume, preaching his apology to his practice audience. She, M, exists somewhere in the city, perhaps Googling how long do affairs last, perhaps packing a sweater, perhaps texting a friend about the woman with my name and my life and my dog. I haven't decided anything. I'm cut open, and also oddly calm in waves. I'm trying to drink water, to eat bagels, to pet my dog and not make jokes as armor. I'm writing here because somewhere out there are people who have done this before me, who have breathed through nights like this and learned things about their own bones. If this were a movie, I'd walk to the ocean and scream at it, but I live nowhere near an ocean, and also I don't want to scare the neighbors. So I'm writing. Tomorrow I'll call my doctor and book tests. I'll email a therapist. I'll call the venue and the photographer and ask questions whose answers will make me cry again. I'll tell my mother and absorb her earthquake. I'll take the dog for a longer walk than usual. Maybe I'll sit on a bench and watch strangers and remind myself that the world is full of people who do not lie for a year. Maybe I'll throw the ring in the junk drawer, and maybe I'll put it in a safe place where it will make me ache less to see it. He texted while I was writing this. I'm here when you want to talk. I love you. She texted again. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to hurt you. I could reply. I could craft an elegant statement about culpability and choices and the way sorry is a pebble when you need a boulder. I could also block both, delete numbers, and try to shrink my universe for a while so I can fit inside it again. I don't know yet which person I'm going to be tomorrow, or next week, or 6 months from now when a Saturday morning feels dangerous again because of what it could be hiding. Right now, the dog is staring at the door. He will do that for a few days, I think, waiting for the sound that meant walk time with Dad. I'm staring at the wind chimes, judging the breeze like it can take responsibility for moving the air. I keep hearing the text in my head. She understands parts of me. Maybe I will understand parts of me I didn't know. Maybe I will find muscles I didn't need before. Maybe I will never trust quinoa again because it was in the sink when my life tilted. I'm leaving this here in the unresolved. He at a friend's, me at the kitchen table that we picked together because it could handle a family. The second phone presumably silent in his bag, like a dead bird. The wedding binder closed with its tabs like tongues sticking out at me. The ring dish heavy with one oval promise and several paper clips. If anyone has done this and made it through to a place where mornings are just mornings again, tell me how you breathe through the waiting. Did you confront the other person? Did you go no contact immediately? Did you force joint therapy, or is it better to heal separately? Is there a way to walk away without feeling like you dropped a bomb in both your families? And if you stayed, how did your bones stop buzzing? I know the internet can be a cruel echo chamber, but I also know someone will read this and see themselves. That helps. Not being alone in the kitchen helps. I can't tie this with a bow. All I have is the sound of my own breath going in and out, the dog's weight by my leg, and the knowledge that the truth is here. Finally, like a bruise you didn't know you had until you pressed it. TLDR, found my fiancé's hidden second phone with a year-long affair on it. He's moved out to a friend's. I'm in shock. Wedding, probably off. No idea what happens next.